I'm J. Nicole, and I can finally say I am the author of 50 romance books. So I've indie published them all, and this year in 2024, I've decided that I am going to take on a path, a journey to traditional publishing. So right now, I'm writing a book that I plan to finish, take to agents, get an agent, and find a publisher. And hopefully, that will all happen within this year. If not, I have a book that will be ready at the end of the year to be self-published, or maybe I'll continue to put it out for an agent to find. We'll see. But on my journey to traditional publishing, I want to share what I'm doing because this is totally new to me and it may be new to some of you who are also self-published and want to traditionally publish, or if you are starting your writing journey now and you want to publish your book the traditional route instead of indie publishing. If indie publishing is your route, go ahead and browse the rest of my videos because I have a ton of tips and tricks that have helped me over the years to publish those 50 books. But today I'm specifically going to be talking about what I am doing right now to write my traditionally published book. So, as usual, I started with a plot, an idea that I had for a story, an outline, and I'm working on the manuscript now. What I typically do not do, because when I indie publish, the turnaround time can be pretty quick. I can write a book this month, and by next month, my readers can be reading it. And in romance, because readers fly through books, I can continue to do that with no issue. With this book, I'm slowing down, like a lot. So I am taking my time in writing. I'm working with critique groups to get feedback. And I'm just going to overall just really take this bit by bit to figure out the best way to get the best book out for it to be published by a traditional publishing house. So today I'm going to talk about my critique process and the critique groups I'm working with. So in general, when I indie publish, I work with maybe a couple of betas and my editor to get my work reviewed. But the process is a lot quicker. There isn't a lot of thought that goes into the story after it's been written. There may be a few changes, there may be some adjustments, but in general, what I come up with in my plot is typically what the readers may get when they read the book. With this book, I'm working with critique partners to get their feedback on how they feel the story is progressing, how they feel the characters are developed, how they feel the story can be enhanced to make sure that this book is a page turner. Because unlike my readers who love my stories, traditional publishing has a different lens on it. The stories that you write will be under a more critical view. And not to say that my readers aren't critical and don't want and deserve the best book that I can put out, but traditional publishing just has to go through a lot more hoops in order to get to the reader. Not only do I have to impress and convince an agent to like my work, I also have to impress and convince a publishing house to take the chance on my book for to them who will be a debut author as a traditionally published author, to convince them that the readers who I have now will also buy my book once it's traditionally published. So that's a lot. I have to make sure that it is liked by many and not just my niche group of readers who I found in the indie world who love me. So I'm taking my time, bits and pieces, and getting that critique. And what I have found is that there's amazing feedback out there. And there's a lot that varies. So I have some author friends who are reading it with me and critiquing it and giving me feedback and talking through the elements that they think can improve the story. Then I have a few people, other authors who I've never met before, who are blindly reading my work and providing feedback. And I will say one thing remains true with all stories that will ever be told is that everyone will come at it from a different perspective. And I believe that is amazing, especially as I have authors who don't typically read romance who are reading my work, because they come at it from a totally different stance. They are looking for different elements. Some people write fantasy, so they may be looking at it and really wanting that setting, that world building to be there. There's some people who have, different backgrounds and are looking at it like, hey, this may or may not have happened, and it may make it seem realistic. It may be too far from reality, from what I would be used to. And that's amazing feedback too. One of the main things that is helpful in critique groups, because I may or may not take and apply the feedback that's given to me, it gives me an opportunity to think of different perspectives and how people will read and appreciate my work. Another thing it does is it allows me to think through to make sure that I've covered everything that's in my head onto the page. Because as an author, if you've written before, you may know that the book is very much in your head. The characters are very much speaking to you. The story is very much describing itself in your head. But can you get that onto the page? So one thing I have started to notice is as I'm getting feedback, if I start to say, oh, that I meant to say, or this is what the book should entail, or this character's background is XYZ and that's why they did this, therefore explaining their feedback to me, I stop and say, oh no, that should be in the book. To make sure that that information, that detail is relayed from my head, from the outline, and to the pages so that the readers can read it. Because when the final book is delivered to the reader, I can't sit beside them and say, hold on, so that character, back before you can even read it, went through this. Or, when I said that, I actually meant this. Or, oh, they're in this room, and do you see that over there? It's not on the page, but look over there. It's there. So it's making sure that every element that is in my head that I can see as I'm describing the story and writing it out actually makes it to the page so that the readers can completely comprehend the story I'm trying to tell. So long story short, as if I can do such a thing as an author, I would absolutely recommend having multiple people read your book. Not only people in your genre, but people outside of your genre. And not only you yourself as you look through different books to make sure that you're writing what you need to do. And something I gave back to one of the people in my critique group was read outside of your genre so that you can see how other stories and other storytellers describe this work, so that as you're writing it, you can provide the best detail as possible. So as I am getting feedback from other authors, it's allowing me to build a complete story that will be interesting to the reader. But in the end, make sure that you have someone who is familiar with the genre you're writing, because there are story elements that the readers of this genre will be looking for. You want to make sure that you hit on all of those story elements, and you want to make sure that you satisfy the reader, because at the end of the day, it's not going to be a fantasy reader or a thriller reader or a mystery reader who's going to pick up your book and fall in love. It's going to be the person who you typically are writing for. So for me, I write in romance, so I'm expecting romance readers will love it. I love it for everyone in the world to pick up the book and love it, but that's not realistic. I am writing for the romance reader, and I need the romance reader to be satisfied at the end of the story. So in my critique group, I want to make sure that I have romance authors who are providing feedback that's valuable to me as a romance author. If you're looking for romance critique groups, I would say start with your circle first. You probably at least know one other author that you can ping, and when you ping them, offer the same feedback in return. Hey, can you read my first 3 chapters and I'll read your first 3 chapters? If this works out, then maybe we can do it for the whole manuscript. There are groups online that you can join. It took me a while to find one that I liked as far as technology was concerned, as far as the feedback is concerned, and how everything works with moving back and forth. And the one that I'm using currently is called Critique Circle, and I'll drop that in the notes of this video. It's Critique Circle. And the way it works, which I really enjoy because I am a big proponent of give more than you take. So the way it works is that you have to critique a certain amount of pieces of work before your work can be critiqued. And as you continue to critique work, you earn tokens that can then be used for you to upload your work. So it makes it so that there isn't an unfair advantage to people if they're just uploading their work and not providing feedback. So it kind of gives that give and take and allows everyone to get their work also critiqued. There's also another person who runs, like, almost think of it as a critique match service where you can be matched with a critique partner, which is a little bit different than a critique group in that you'll probably work with them long term and build a rapport with them. Similar to like hiring an editor, but it would be someone that you would work with on a constant basis. And I will say that finding a critique partner can be challenging because you want someone who's going to give your work as much um, feedback as you would give their work or the feedback that you're looking for. So, for instance, if you are giving, very detailed feedback, you don't want your feedback to be one sentence. You don't want them to just say, "Oh yeah, that's great, I liked it." You want them to actually pull it apart and point out areas where you can enhance. Because the partnership doesn't really work if neither one of you are pointing out areas that you can enhance. You don't want someone who's just going to read your work and say, "Okay, I read it, it's done." You want someone to tell you what can you enhance, how you can enhance it, and you want someone who is strong in your weaknesses. So hopefully that will create a good partnership where you have a critique partner who may be strong in a couple of areas that you are not strong in, and vice versa. Then you guys can work together to both create cohesive pieces of work. Another thing I will say about feedback is be open-minded. To start, you can always say, "I will not accept all of the feedback that I receive," and that's fine. But don't be closed-minded to the point where you aren't accepting anything. If there's a constant thread throughout your work that someone is pointing out to you, consider it and figure out how you can work on that in your craft to improve it and enhance it. Because if you're not trying to improve, if you're not trying to enhance your work, then it's kind of pointless to have a critique partner. Don't think of them as someone who's criticizing, but someone who's helping you improve. And there might be a way for you to figure out what you need enhancements on. If you've already written work and released it, you can go through your reviews and try to figure out what are some areas that my readers are pointing out they may or may not like, and then find someone who can particularly focus on those areas. If it's your first book that you're writing and you have no idea what people like or dislike, then just be open and ready to receive any of the feedback that the critique partner gives to you and start working through that to see if it improves your work. I hope this has been helpful, and I hope that you are excited to join me on this journey to traditional publishing. As I said, I am hoping to capture all of the notes that I can so that this will be helpful for anyone else who's looking to traditionally publish. Again, I am Jay Nicole, author of 50 romance novels, all indie published, and now it's time to get one traditionally published. Check out my other videos, see what is helpful, see what's not, tell me what you want next, and give you some more information. Thanks, have a good day.